the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. So we're going to do that, and we'll come back on the other side in 2 and 10, folks. All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I'm back in Massachusetts. Had a good time down in D.C. Very nice time at the Irish Embassy, or the residence, I should say, of the ambassador on Tuesday evening. Met a few people that I'm going to have on the show from time to time. Of course, there were a lot of Washington-type people there, so I got a chance to talk to a lot of people, A, in the administration, but also B, in the government, and they've been there for a long time, and they can offer us some good perspectives or insider trader information here. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, and we are up and streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. So you can also watch and listen on X and Facebook and Twitch TV and Rumble as well, folks. And the station Facebook page and YouTube channel, that's also happening there. So many ways to listen and watch. And of course, check out Twitch TV, our new streaming channel. If you have Roku, Fire Stick, Smart TV, you can download the Twitch TV app like you do when you download Netflix or Hulu or Freebie, any of those TV channels that are on Smart TV. I just want to finish my thoughts on this Garcia situation going on, because Sora, the wife, filed court documents. And this is important because Garcia bragged he could kill her, in quote. But she wrote in the report, and you can go look at it. I highlighted it. It's on my Facebook page. No one could do anything to him. So here you have, who most of us know. I mean, we had two judges. So I'm going to be comfortable saying he's MS-13. Two judges at two different times, based on the arguments before them, said he is, in fact, MS-13. So you have a member of a violent gang, one of the most violent gangs we know about, saying that no one can do anything to him, because it's the attitude, it's the messaging that the Biden administration gave. And then they were able to watch this, that they were either no or really just absolutely slap on the wrist type of consequences to horrific acts. She also possessed a recording of him making this statement to her ex-mother-in-law. So when she wrote it in the police report, she actually had a recording of him saying this to back that up. Then you've got the alleged physical abuse, punching, slapping, bruising her, smashing phones, damaging walls, locking the kids in a room. In one of the specific incidences that she wrote out, in a violent episode, he locked her out of the house, smashed her phone, and the police were even there when he did this. And despite the abuse, Sura has since advocated for his return. She's attended press conferences in supporting his legal team. Sounds like she's seeing an opportunity here to not only get sympathy, but capitalize on it. So I have my doubts here. So Jennifer Sura, the victim of Garcia's actions, the wife, and despite the abuse claim, she later rescinded that protective order, and now asking that he be returned, demanding that he be returned, actually. And of course, the Trump administration, but this would be ICE, Immigration Department, ordered his deportation. And they defend this decision despite legal challenges to it. And the DOJ, now they initially admitted Garcia's deportation was an administrative error. So an administrative error, the due process there is to correct the error. It's not to reverse or negate the deportation orders or ignore the fact that he is here illegally. It's to just fix the administrative error. In Pam Bondi's office, they did fire the DOJ lawyer who admitted to the error, by the way. So there were consequences for that mistake. And we haven't seen that kind of responsibility or consequences to people who seriously screwed up under the Biden administration. And then you got the senator from Maryland, Van Hollen, who goes down there to El Salvador, meets with Garcia, advocating for that return. The Supreme Court ruled the government must facilitate Garcia's return, though not guarantee success. So that is important, that the verbiage in that order was to facilitate. Right? It wasn't, they said, you must do. He said, it says facilitate, which means that if he's coming back, maybe provide the plane. So it doesn't really say that you have to take him back. It's just that if he's coming back, facilitate it, if that's what it's called for. But again, we do Zoom calls for criminal cases, arraignments. Immigration judge could do a Zoom or secure video link and rule on his status while he's still in custody. And that's a whole nother thing, by the way. We've got this thing that we release and parole people. Remember the first term, the big fuss over the fact that people were detained, yada, yada. Yes, you break into the country illegally. The Biden administration started paroling everybody. I think they should be detained. And that's what Stay in America was about. Stay in Mexico. This is a Biden thing that we give people these docs in order to report, and they can go anywhere they want in the country. If you come into the country breaking in illegally and you know you're going to be in a detention facility, you may think twice about that, right? It's a deterrent. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Let me go to the phones. Mark has been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you? Yeah. Yep. You got it. The minerals deal. Yeah. No, I don't think she would have, because she was no. To answer the question, Mark, no, because nobody, no existing politician thinks like Trump does, right? He has thought outside of the box. He has come from this at a completely different perspective than any sitting politician. Period. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other thought, Mark? Good points. In New Hampshire? Yeah, absolutely. It is. Absolutely. Good point. Mark, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. And that's a great point, because first of all, every single, not just state police, but every police agency in all of our states, I mean, they all take pretty much the same oath, right? And in that oath is to defend the Constitution and to uphold law and protect its citizens. So every single state police agency and town and city, municipality, police department, or sheriff's department, common sense dictates that when ICE contacts and says we have a detainer for this person, if you have them in custody or you come across them, hold them. We've got the due process has taken place. We've got the paperwork. We've got an order to detain them. So guess what? If you're law enforcement, do your job. If there's that means these people, they are criminals. I know the left has tried to use or willing speak to change the meaning of words, right? The AP came out, and the news organizations, the legacy media, they put out for their reporters and anchors how they're supposed to refer to people. And the Orwellian orders have been to stop using the term illegal alien, even though it's in the statute, even though that is the official, absolutely legitimate, acceptable term to use. Don't use it. We're going to call them undocumented. Remember Obama with the Dreamers? What we were asked to, or being forced to call them Dreamers at one time. Again, it's Orwellian, folks, that can control the language you're allowed to use. Then it will alter the way you think. And freedom of speech means not being forced to use certain verbiage as well. Hey, we have to take our mid-show break here on the Thursday edition. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks. All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Reminding folks that we are streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, also the station Facebook page, YouTube. You can also go to Rumble to the Joe Mangiacotti Show as well. Let's go to the phones. Ken has been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Joe? Is this Joe?
It is Joe.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in about a week.
I know, right? How'd Peter do yesterday? Peter Bluth sat in yesterday. I got a little bit of it on streaming, but I had to get on the plane, so I couldn't hear the whole thing. But I know that he touched on the 100 days, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I decided not to cover that any more than we did on Tuesday and Peter did on Wednesday.
Hey, with all of this talk about the same thing over and over again, I think we should have a theme song that I just thought of.
The what?
The Heat is On, Glenn Fry.
Oh, yeah. For theme song for the show?
Yeah.
Well, for one of the reasons is, so you got to pay for that stuff. So my theme music has been I paid for that to be composed and done. So I can stream it and all that. If you use, you know what I'm saying? It's a matter of licensing.
Yeah.
But that would be a great theme song.
Mike does it a lot on Saturdays.
Yep. And but then he doesn't stream it on social media like I do. That show doesn't go. So it's a different set of rules.
I got it. So I'll bring up the idea to Mike. I think he'll like it.
Yeah. Well, I always thought that, any of those like 70s PI shows would be great theme music. Rockford Files or Mannix or any of that stuff I could use. Just
I thought it was just, I just love the story because we keep abusing the left on it over and over and over. Why that Terry Moran, or is it more? No, never mind. You know what people are calling him. I mean, what Trump did was a Three Stooges stunt on it. Whacked him every side of the head. He didn't get it. Back off.
Yeah. Good for him to think, he was going to be the guy to go in there and really, dig into Trump. Trump was like a cat playing with a half-dead mouse. It just, they couldn't put Stephanopoulos in. They couldn't. What was the one? The mirror there, the guy in the debate who. Yeah. Remember that debate when the terms or pre-agreement was they weren't going to fact check live, and then he fact checks him, but he fact checks him and he's wrong. Then that was on the criminal stats, and it's crazy. Look, I think Trump does very well in the conflict situation, right? And I think he kind of thrives on it, to tell you the truth. But he doesn't hold. He has nothing. This is his second term. They have thrown everything at him. They have called him the nastiest. There's nothing he has done or said to any of these people worse than them calling him Hitler, right? Can we agree on that? There's nothing worse. Trump has never said anything worse than what they've called and said about him, what they've lied about him. So I know when people say, I get it. It's not very presidential, but that ship sailed because what they did to the office of the presidency with the Biden administration is nothing like that's been done to the office of the president in the history of the country, like what they did with Biden. Period.
Agreed.
Okay, so
but here's another little tidbit on Kilmar, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you don't know this little factoid. You remember when in 2019 he had 2 appearances in front of immigration court, and the second one he'd all lawyered up, and we know why he was lawyered stuff. He's the lieutenant of their army. So we got to save this guy. Let's not come up with an excuse. Well, there was a story behind his family in his mother's papusa business. And where now was he not to be? He was being withheld from being export or sent deported to where?
The judge issued a do not remove order, which simply meant, yes, we ordered him deported, but we're putting a kind of a stay, right? A pause on that.
Right.
And the reasoning given at that time was because it would have tantamount to murder. If we sent him back, he would have been killed by the rival gang. Now, two things happen here. So if you have a rival gang, it's very hard to claim you're not in the gang if you have a rival gang, and that's why you can't be deported. So, of course, that's silly. And then the second thing is the gang that he was supposedly afraid of, guess what? They don't even exist anymore. It's been dispersed.
But he had to have been withheld from deportation to where?
El Salvador, but you can deport. We can deport people to other countries, folks.
No, Joe, that's not the full story.
What's the full? Tell me.
See, the mother had the papusa business, right? And yeah, it's probably true that the rival gang was harassing him. Right? They had a detailed story. I don't think
they were shaking her down or something, wasn't there? There's racketeering to the
exactly. But the family moved to Guatemala, and literally, the court forms say over and over again, Guatemala. They talk about him being from El Salvador, but the withholding was to Guatemala. Maybe that's the administrative error.
Okay.
It wasn't an error. It wasn't an error.
So wait a minute.
So the whole
let me get this straight, Ken. The mothers moved the business to Guatemala to get away from the gang in El Salvador.
Bingo.
So maybe it was the order not to remove was to El Salvador where the danger was, but they should have deported him to Guatemala.
No. There's nothing to suggest that the court in that second court appearance was in any way in error. They knew that he was pleading that you can't send me back to my parents, and the judge knew the parents were in Guatemala now from the move.
Okay, so it was. So you're saying that the administrative error was probably that it should have been listed as Guatemala, not El Salvador. That they should not have removed him to. Whatever it is, it was administrative error. My point on this, Ken, is due process does not mean a big court trial automatically, like, it's a Perry Mason episode. Due process means you're just due. You're entitled to the process that's applicable to your situation. That's all due process means. And in this case, it might have been as simple as, well, fix the administrative error, change it from one country to the other, whatever it is. And why does he have to be brought back to, because this whole thing, everybody knows if he's brought back, the immigration and DOJ is just going to do the process and cross the T's and dot the I. We were doing immigration hearings when people were physically in Mexico. We do court appearances on video links every day, folks. Again, why are the law in the due process of the court systems expected to be different when it comes to immigrants, illegal immigrants, illegal aliens? He can stay right where he is, and we can do a video link, And on that note, why can't, they come in the country, we're going to give them a court date 6-7 years down the road. Why are we releasing them into the country? Have them detained. Whether that detention center is in the United States or in another country or Guantanamo Bay or in Mexico. Majority of these asylum requests, by the way, are turned down. Right, Ken? You know this. And I've gone over this before, folks. You cannot expect to get asylum, right, granted, if you've been living very freely, peacefully in some other country for a while, or if you've had to go through 2 or 3 countries to get to the United States. the claim for asylum has kind of faded away. Asylum is supposed to be when you're persecuted, prosecuted, or in danger from the country you're fleeing. But if you fled your country of origin 8-10 years ago, and you've been living somewhere in South America for a while, how do you claim asylum? You can't.
Joe, he tried. His lawyers tried to get asylum, and the judge automatically said, "You've been here more than a year." Rejected.
Exactly.
So here's the point: you listed all these things. They have so many things on top of this. There's more things to come. Like literally, if it ever gets in front of the Supreme Court's going to laugh at the lower judges. What the heck are you bringing this for me?
Well, we hope they do.
It doesn't even apply to withholding.
Yeah.
Nothing does. But we're just playing with them, like you said, just like a cat to a mouse.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Any other thought? What do you think of? Because Mark brought this up, and I didn't have it on my notes to cover that New Hampshire. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, Ken, that we have to actually, make it like go out of the way and change policy that the state police can cooperate with ICE. That should be the default setting, folks, because they have all sworn an oath. They've all been granted. Let's not forget, police officers, they do possess a tremendous amount of power. Think about it. Police have the ability to detain you, to question you, to arrest you when you break the law. They have the authority that we've granted them as the government, the citizens, these powerful abilities. And it is their actual responsibility to enforce the law and defend the Constitution. So the fact that we have to go through this political debate to say that our police officers can actually do their job, I think is silly. But it's good that Kelly Ayotte is officially saying the state police can do this. Now, I don't think our governor, I know actually Kelly Ayotte's your governor, I don't think my governor is going to actually, and this is a former attorney general, right? And she was at one time the highest. Yeah, exactly. Actually, final thought, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, Florida, look what they did last weekend. They took 1,000 off the street.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Oh, Tom Homan was at the White House in that morning thing the other day, and he ran through some of the numbers. They're absolute cleaning house. Ken, thank you for the call. We're against the clock. Always appreciate it. Folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. We got lines open and available. We'll take a third and final break. Back on the other side with our fourth segment, folks. Back in 2 and 10.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. From top quality fuel to freshly stocked snacks and essentials, Yatco has you covered. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. For Yatco rewards, simply download the Yatco app and sign up. Friendly, clean, local, and always convenient. Make Yatco your favorite food and fuel stop. Stop by Yatco food and fuel stations today and experience the Yatco difference. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going. Lower temperatures often bring that little scraping and clawing sound in your ceilings and walls. You know the one. Time to call ProTech Pest Control, the pest extermination service of Worcester County. Fully licensed and insured to handle. With ProTech Pest Control, you're guaranteed a quick response with flexible appointments. Enjoy the benefits of living in a pest-free environment. Call 508-757-2409 or visit protechpestcontrol.com.
Looking for a station that brings you all sides of the story? Tune in to 50,000 watt powerhouse WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. From politics and health to pop culture, you'll hear it all right here. Radio Central, where opinions from both sides come together for the conversations that matter. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830, WCRN, Radio Central.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Reminding you, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is running at 617-297-8388. Text it like you would anyone else. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time. And don't forget, we're streaming on my social media platforms, Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and yes, Rumble as well. Also on the station's Facebook page. If you haven't made your way over to AM 830 WCRN Facebook page, please do that. Give us a visit and hit the like and follow button there. And we're increasing the content there, right? More the Carr Brothers are streaming their show now. Freedom Health Radio starting to stream their shows now. So we'll have more and more as we build that page, and more of you find your way there. 508-871-7000. So, folks, you know my position on voting. I think that we have an extremely serious problem with voter fraud on all kinds of levels, right? Both at the polling places and the counting place. It is. And France, tried to get sophisticated with it, and they've gone back to, paper ballots. And I think that if we're going to use any kind of computer of any type at a voting location, it needs to be the most simple. It's a counter. That's it. How many ballots were pulled? How many ballots were put into the box? That's it. None of this digital. Anything that is on the net is absolutely hackable. I don't care what you think you have for firewalls and all that. It is, period. And there's no reason for it. Paper ballots, they worked for a very long time. We shouldn't have voter, absentee ballots being accepted and postmarked after Election Day. All of those things, we've got to go back to BC, before COVID. So we talk about securing elections, and we're not just tossing around political football here. We're talking about safeguarding the foundation of this republic. That's one citizen, one vote. But, this week we've got multiple stories showing cracks in the system. Now, I could do a story almost every day about some voter fraud incident somewhere. In the so-called rare non-citizen voting, right? Legacy media and people on the left want to tell you it's rare, it doesn't happen. And I told you folks a couple of years ago when, we started giving licenses, as many states do now, to illegals, that they're not, here in Massachusetts, remember Senator Moore used to join me on the show, and he voted for it. And I was totally against that. And of course, I asked the logical question, well, then those licenses will, they'll be printed vertically instead, or have a green stripe or something. No, nothing denotes it. Nothing. So the license in Massachusetts issued to an illegal alien looks exactly like your or my license does. And this whole so-called rare non-citizen voting isn't looking as rare as it used to be anymore either. So 2 separate incidents involving non-citizens attempting and succeeding in a case in voter fraud have been confirmed by the DOJ and by the federal courts. Now, this narrative that non-citizen votings are rare, that is just being challenged in some real-world cases here, folks. Florida case. This is organized fraud attempt going on. Senja Jumalov, Uzbek national, has pled guilty to voter fraud. And Dmitry Shishinban, who's a Russian nationalist, is charged and pending trial right now. Now, the action here is submitted over 100 fake voter registration applications to a county supervisor in the 2023 elections, early elections. So the applicant used made-up names, and get this, sequential Social Security numbers. And don't you love it when criminals are lazy? Because he also used repeating birth dates and addresses. So he took an address, a birth date, and then just filled out multiple forms, over 100 of these fake voter registration applications, and just changed the last digit on Social Security. So there's a sequential. The NCOA change of address forms were sent to locations they controlled. So the outcome of this is the fraud was caught and rejected by county officials before affecting the voter rolls in that case. Good for the county clerk or the staff in the office is saying, wait a minute, we just get this influx, the same birth date, and one digit off in the Social Security. And in case you didn't know it, your Social Security number actually tells a lot about you because it breaks down to origin where it was assigned. So where were you born when you applied, or where were you when you applied for it? So the first three digits will tell you what part of the country. So there's some IDing information in that Social Security number in the way it goes. The 3, the 2, the 4. So that was caught there. But the New York case has Iraqi national who had voted illegally. Aki Abdul Jamal, he's 45, a non-citizen. He's from Iraq. He's been charged by the DOJ for voting in 2020 presidential election. So the charge is voting by aliens. It's a 1-year maximum sentence, $100,000 fine. DOJ acknowledges the Department of Government Sufficiency, DOGE, helped in this investigation. Elon mentioned this a few times because when they were looking at all the data and crunching all this data, and he has people who are CEOs, and there were multiple billionaires there are multiple billionaires running these incredible corporations, volunteering their time like Elon. And when they crunched it, that's how we found out that thousands of Social Security numbers have been issued to illegal aliens. And that then they turned around and they have registered to vote. In many cases, many of them have voted. Then there's a Michigan case, right? Now, this is a Chinese student who has skipped court, by the way. Hexang Gao, who is a student at the University of Michigan, voted in a federal election. Now, a bench warrant is issued because he skipped court. Supposed to go to court, just didn't show up. And remember, I talked about the fact that they passed the National Citizens Law in China, CCP, who officially says now that all citizens must, by law, help respond or act on behalf of Chinese intelligence agencies if they're called upon. So in response to that, we have some members of Congress here introducing a bill that says all visas to Chinese students need to be rejected because they've officially just put us on notice that every citizen is in fact an asset to their intelligence agency. Period. And this whole voter fraud thing, folks, is putting legal votes at risk because we're deluded. Every time a non-citizen votes or someone who is not legally allowed to vote because they're trying to vote where they don't actually live, right? There's a lot of levels of fraud. Obviously, the one I'm talking about mostly right now is non-citizens getting themselves registered and then participating in elections. And then you got the jamokes who want illegals to actually be able to vote, say, in the municipal elections. But there's also people who try to vote where they don't live. They go into other districts. Look at primary day in New Hampshire. A lot of buses show up. And then you got people who are trying to use dead people's voter registration. So there's many ways to commit voter fraud. Now, election officials responsible for vetting applications and detecting fraud need to have the tools and the range to be able to do this. And one of the things Doge has pointed out to us, right, is the fact that our government employees are using antiquated computer systems and that they don't talk to each other. One of the simplest things is once a death certificate is issued and Social Security is notified, a few things need to happen, right? The Social Security benefits need to stop going to a dead person, but they should be able to also automatically notify the county clerks in their respective communities that a death certificate's on file and that they should be purged. And these election officials need to purge the list every election cycle. I know the left wants to make it sound like purging voter rolls is a bad thing, that purging voter rolls is voter suppression. It's not, of course. Purging voter rolls simply means taking an inventory of who's on the list and just confirming that they belong there because A, they're alive. That's not a big ask. And second, do they actually live at the address associated with their voter registration? Not big hard, that's not a very high bar to have to pass. You're alive and you live where you say you live. Now, the DOJ and U.S. attorneys, their role here is prosecuting federal election crimes. Now, Congress has the SAVE Act, right? They're debating the SAVE Act now, which seeks to tighten voter ID laws. And no, Trump wrote the executive order, and Congress needs to catch up to Trump on a lot of this stuff. And Stefanik there out of New York, vocal supporters of SAVE Act, calling for stronger state laws. Folks, this is going to wrap up Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Thank you for joining me. Car Brothers tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm back Monday at 1 o'clock, folks. Have a fantastic weekend. Joe out.